Welcome, everybody, to this special Saturday edition of the Huddle Hub podcast. My name is Metal Mike. We're going to get into Super Wild Card Weekend, which kicks off today, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, between the Los Angeles Rams and the Carolina Panthers. And then later on tonight, the Packers and Bears. Green Bay heads out to Chicago to take on the Bears. The Bears. That's right. Super Wild Card Weekend kicks off. We're going to get into the news, the coaching carousel, and I got some playoff history stuff for you guys as well. You know me. I got to do some extra stuff, kind of spice up the playoffs for you guys a little bit. So, and for those of you who know me, I'm a statistics guy. I like to look into things, do a deep dive into things. So I got some playoff statistics stuff for you guys. Some fun stuff. Okay, before we get into that, though, when we get off air here today, guys, please head over to the Huddle Hub podcast over on social media on X and TikTok at the Huddle Hub Pod. You're going to hit that follow button. And over on the YouTube, you're going to hit the subscribe button. That's how you follow on YouTube. And if you're on Twitch, just hit the follow button. Turn those notifications on. And you'll see every time we go live, whether it's on the Tuesday edition at 7 p.m. with myself and John, whether it's on the Sunday edition at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with me and Cam, or when we have special shows like we have today, okay? We also do video game. Well, I do video game, my Road to Glory series I'm doing right now in College Football 26. Go live here on the Huddle Hub podcast on Twitch and YouTube. So you're going to want to hit that follow button. And over on the YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Help us build the Huddle Hub podcast going through the NFL playoffs and beyond. So, guys, it is Super Wildcard Weekend, and I've been thinking about this since Tuesday night. Ever since me and John got off air, I was thinking about this, okay? And it was pretty much a sum-up thought of how the 2025 NFL season went, the regular season, okay? And it was a weird year. And we couldn't have said it enough. We couldn't have said it enough that this has been a weird season. The Indianapolis Colts start off hot. One of the best teams in the league. Jonathan Taylor was on the road to possibly breaking the seal that Saquon Barkley should have broke last year for the MVP award. Didn't get there. Matthew Stafford, who's 37 years old, is the leading MVP candidate with Drake May and Bo Nix. Some guys in there that you wouldn't believe. I mean, even oh my gosh, I'm forgetting his name. Daniel Jones was in the running at one point before he got hurt. The Jacksonville Jaguars bounced back from a 4-13 season to win the AFC South. And Trevor Lawrence put himself in position for league MVP. You're not seeing names like Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts. You're seeing names like Matthew Stafford, Daniel Jones, Jonathan Taylor, Drake May, Bo Nix. Those are the names you're seeing for league MVP. Saquon Barkley not in there. Jonathan Taylor was in there instead at running back. But then the Colts were undefeated at one point until they weren't no more, and then they just skid. The Jets did what the Jets do. The Browns did what the Browns do. Other teams that we're used to seeing them do what they do, did what they did. But then there were teams that were unexpectedly good and are actually playing this weekend. And for the first time since 2003, 2004, we got a losing season team, a team that had a losing record in the regular season in the postseason because they won their division. This is a weird year. And we've chalked that up many times here on the show, how weird this year has been. If you played fantasy football And you had players that normally would ball out, didn't do that until close to the end of the season. During the playoffs, when you're sitting in the consolidation playoffs because you didn't make the actual playoffs. It was a weird year. So if there's one word that chalks up the 2025 NFL season, weird. Weird. And now whether the stars align for 2026 or this is going to be the norm, I'll say this, I'm for it. Because a weird year turned it into a fun year. Nonetheless. Me and John's Pick Challenge. For the first time in 8 seasons. I'm leading going into the playoffs. Never has happened before. Never. I've been able to keep stride. At this point, I'd be down by 20-something games and out of it, basically. Just going through the motions at this point, through the playoffs and to get to the end of the year. Now it's competitive. Now it's competitive. Now me and John are basically here. And whether I win or lose, I'm happy with how things went because I had a much better season than I normally do. I've yet to hit 100 losses, which normally happens in like week 14 already. So this has been a weird year, but a fun one nonetheless. And again, if this is the norm, if this is what it's going to be moving forward, then I'm for it because how competitive this year has been. To watch teams, the playoff race, things that needed to happen, even getting down to week 18 in the NFC South. The Falcons and Bucks, the Bucks and the Panthers had to rely on Atlanta. A team that wasn't even in the playoffs, a team that fired their head coach right after the season ended, won their final game of the year, and then the Bucks and the Panthers had to rely on them. The epic Sunday nighter between the Steelers and Ravens came down to a field goal. Tyler Loop kicking it wide right. And the Ravens are home for the season. And then a week later, John Harbaugh gone in Baltimore after 18 seasons. It's been a weird year. It's been a weird year, and I'm for it. If this is the norm, I'm for it because of how competitive it made things. It kind of made football feel somewhat like football again. And what I mean by that is all the rule changes kind of changed the game a little bit. Made it, RG3 put a question out on his X asking about the Indiana Hoosiers. Congratulations to the Indiana Hoosiers and the Miami Hurricanes, by the way. Heading to the national championship game on January 19th in Miami Gardens, Florida, where the Miami Hurricanes play. Miami Hurricanes, the first team in the college football playoff era to play a home game in the national championship. Okay. RG3 put out the question of, are the Indiana Hoosiers the best college football team ever? And I commented. I did. I said, ever? Maybe you can ask that question in this era because you can't forget about the hard-hitting teams that Warren Sapp and Ray Lewis were a part of. When football was a huge, football is a battle-tested game today. It is. It's battle-tested. But back then, it was super battle-tested. So I don't know if I would ask that question. But guys, let's get into what we're here for. Again, Super Wildcard Weekend. We're going to talk about that. I got some fun statistics going into the playoffs that I'm going to talk about because you know me, I'm a statistics guy, and we got to have some fun here. Okay. We're going to talk about the coaching carousel, but first, let's get into the news going into Wild Card Weekend. Not much. There is not much news. There's more so coaching carousel news. Omarion Hampton, running back of the Chargers, he's going to be questionable for the game against the Patriots tomorrow. So tomorrow night, Sunday Night Football, the Patriots and Chargers kick off 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and running back Omarion Hampton is going to be questionable. But for today's game, Dontavius Wicks, wide receiver of the Packers, he was ruled out. So the Packers are going to be without Dontavius Wicks. So, so that's a little bit of a hit for the Packers and their wide receiving core. A little bit of a hit, especially going into Chicago. And that crowd is going to be a ruckus one tonight in Chicago. That is. I am so excited for today's games. So excited. I am ready to lock in and watch some playoff football. I am. But let's get into the coaching carousel. So we are up. And the coaches that have been fired, John Harbaugh, Kevin Stefanski, Mike McDaniel was recently fired 2 days ago out in Miami after 4 seasons. Brian Daboll earlier this year for the Giants. Jonathan Gannon, the Cardinals, after 3 seasons, gone. Raheem Morris with the Falcons after 2 years, gone. Pete Carroll for the Raiders after 1 season, gone. And Brian Callahan after a season in Tennessee, gone. So some questions are being raised on who is going to go in and be the new head coach for these teams. And obviously John Harbaugh, 18 seasons in Baltimore, he is going to be the top candidate. Now, there is word out there that Kevin Stefanski did have an interview yesterday in Baltimore, former Browns head coach. And I said it the other day. I said, I feel like Kevin Stefanski is going to get an opportunity to go to Baltimore and be that head coach. He is going to get an interview. And lo and behold, he did yesterday. Got an interview yesterday, and now there's a possibility Kevin Stefanski may get hired by Baltimore. Because Kevin Stefanski's not a bad head coach. He's not. I mean, he was put in a crap situation in Cleveland. And then on top of that, front office brings in a quarterback that he didn't even want. Forced to work with a quarterback that he didn't want to work with. And, he went through 13 starting quarterbacks in his 6 years being there. It's nuts. Imagine that. 13 starting quarterbacks. I mean, 3 years ago, he had 5, 6 starting quarterbacks alone in one season just to get to the playoffs. Led by Joe Flacco. So Kevin Stefanski, he's going to have an opportunity possibly in Baltimore. And I'm for it. I'd like to see what Kevin Stefanski can do with a team that has players on it that can go out and win ball games, like Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers. It's going to be a good team. That is a good built team in Baltimore. It's just all about, sometimes it's not your players. Sometimes it's the coaches. Sometimes it's the play calls, what the coaches, are having the players do. Play calling, running plays, all that stuff, So, and we raised the question the other day of what's going to happen with Lamar Jackson, because is there a possibility he's going to be out in Baltimore? He said that he wanted to be traded to Miami. So who knows? Who knows? We're going to have to wait and see. We're definitely going to have to wait and see until March. 2 months before we really know what's going to happen with some players and other coaches and all that stuff. So let's get into the coaching carousel, though. There was some again. Kevin Stefanski had an interview with the Ravens this week. Clint Kubiak also had an interview with the Ravens this week. He is the Seahawks offensive coordinator currently. Brian Callahan, former Titans head coach, had an interview with the Bucks for their offensive coordinator position. John Sullivan, he is the former VP of player operations in Green Bay. He had an interview for the Dolphins GM position, but the Dolphins, I believe, filled their GM position, if I'm correct on that. They did. They did fill their GM position. This is what happens when you try and get all your news together. Let me run down this correctly here. John Sullivan. Yeah, John Sullivan, he is the new Dolphins GM. Sorry, I read that wrong. Aiden Durd, he interviewed for the Browns head coach position. He's the Seahawks defensive coordinator. Joe Cullen, he interviewed for the Commanders defensive coordinator position. He is the Kansas City Chiefs defensive line coach. And David Blau, he is the new offensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders. Former NFL quarterback. I believe he was also the quarterback's coach out in Washington. Got a bump up in his position. He is now the offensive coordinator in Washington. Some coaching interviews for the future coming up this week. Jake Peetz, he is the Seahawks pass coordinator. He's going to be interviewing for the Lions offensive coordinator position. Durante Jones, he is the pass coordinator out in Minnesota. He's interviewing for the Cowboys defensive coordinator position. Ephraim Banda, he is the Browns safeties coach. He is interviewing for the Cowboys defensive coordinator position. Jesse Minters, he is the Chargers defensive coordinator, will be interviewing for the Browns head coaching position. And Joe Brady, Bills offensive coordinator, he'll be interviewing for the Ravens head coaching position. So that's what's happening with the coaches right now. Interviews are going to be happening. Positions are going to be filled. Matt Ryan, former NFL quarterback in Atlanta for many, many years, took the Falcons to the Super Bowl a couple years ago against the Patriots. He is now the new football operations head of football in Atlanta. So I'm guessing it's head of football operations, new president of football. Okay, so I'm guessing that's, football operations. That's what I'm guessing. But how they word it is new president of football. What do you mean? Do you mean of operations? Because teams have football operations. Don't just put new president of football. Is he in charge of the footballs? The balls that get used in games? President of football. I'm guessing it's football operations. That's my guess. So that's your coaching carousel right now. Not much news to really cover this week. It's crazy. And, during the regular season, we have a bunch of news that comes out and so much to cover. And now we're at the point where things are going to be a lot less to talk about as we get in deeper to the playoffs here. I'm even looking to see if there's any type of breaking news that we can talk about real quick, and there's absolutely nothing. Today is going to be a playoff day, basically. A day to just get ready for the postseason to kick off. Just seeing if there's any there is any breaking news. No. The Panthers are expected to pick up a fifth-year option on Bryce Young, his contract in his contract this offseason, which is typical. So Bryce Young's fifth-year option is possibly getting picked up this offseason by the Panthers. That's it. That's the news. That's all we got. This is going to be probably a quick show today. I say that and then it doesn't. We're here longer. So, but that's it for the news. That's it. So like I said at the top of the show, Super Wildcard Weekend kicks off today, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Rams head out to Carolina to take on the Panthers. And, we're going to get into some statistics and everything like that. But before we do, we're going to take about a 20 to 30 second break here on the Huddle Hub Podcast. We'll be right back as I get myself situated here for us to get into some statistics. All right, guys, so make sure you're heading over to the Huddle Hub Podcast over on social media after the show, over on X and TikTok at the Huddle Hub Pod. You're going to hit that follow button, and over on YouTube at the Huddle Hub Pod, you're going to hit that subscribe button. That's how you follow on YouTube. And over on the Twitch, you're going to hit the follow button as well. All of our links to all of our social medias are in the bio on the Twitch channel. So if you have a social media that you desire to go follow us on, you can click on that link, because I know not everybody has every social media. X is like the only one I feel like not everybody has. Okay. TikTok, I feel like almost everybody has TikTok nowadays. And YouTube, everybody's been using YouTube since the beginning of time. So, if you can, please go hit the follow button, and on YouTube, the subscribe button. Help us build the Huddle Hub Podcast going through the NFL playoffs and beyond. So let's get into some statistics. Let's make this show a little more fun. Okay. So we're going to talk about teams and their playoff appearances. Okay. Now, yes, I dug deep into the statistics book to see how many times teams have made the postseason since the beginning of the Super Bowl era, basically. But this does actually run a little deeper, okay? Because I brought up a statistic of, for example, the Colts. The Colts aren't in the playoffs, but I'm just putting this out there. They made 30 playoff appearances, went 23-25. They're 3-4 in conference championship games, but 2-2 in Super Bowls. Okay, so they're 3-4. That's 7 conference title games, 2-2 in Super Bowls, which means they would make 4 Super Bowls, right? How are you 3-4? Because that's 7, but you're 2-2 in Super Bowls, which means this was counting for the time before the Super Bowl era. Got to kind of do the math. 4 Super Bowls, but you're 3-4 in conference title games? It don't make sense. That don't make sense. At all. The math is not mathing. And unless I'm missing something here, but let's get into it. Let's start off with the AFC, the Patriots, or the Broncos, who are the number 1 seed. They've made the playoffs 24 times. They're 23-20. They went 8-2 in conference title games, 3-5 in Super Bowls. Okay, so the Broncos are on the road to a possible 4th Lombardi trophy. The Patriots, they've appeared in the playoffs now. This is their 29th appearance. Now, meaning this is going to be their 29th appearance. Okay, I have their current appearance into the playoffs added in here. Okay, this is the Patriots' 29th appearance. 37-22. They're 11-4 in conference title games. 6-5. 6-5 in Super Bowls. Okay, the Jaguars, they have appeared in the playoffs 9 times. They're 8-8. They've went 0-3 in conference title games and have never made it to a Super Bowl. And then the Pittsburgh Steelers, 36 playoff appearances. They are 36-29. They went 8-8 in conference title games, and they are 6-2 in the Super Bowl. That's a good record. So Steelers fans, I mean, I know nowadays you're not too happy about your team even going 10-7 and making the playoffs this year. But be proud of what they've done. Be proud of the franchise that they've built for you to be a fan of. Okay, be proud of that. People like to pick on teams like the Cowboys and the Steelers and, the 49ers who haven't raised a Lombardi in a long time. People like to pick on these teams. But you can't erase the history that these teams have made. Okay? So, I mean, yeah, it's fun to poke a little bit. It is. A little in-season banter. Oh, when's the last time you made it to a Super Bowl or raised a Lombardi? My kids, grew up and never seen the Cowboys raise a Lombardi, blah, blah, blah. Like, come on now. Like, let it go. Let it go. You got to look at the rich history that these teams have built. They are part of the foundation that this league is built on. If it wasn't for them having this history, then what is there to celebrate? You know what I mean? Like, you got to think of that a little bit. You got to think about that a little bit. So, I think we should take it a little easy on these teams that haven't raised the Lombardi trophy in a long time. I think we should. Who's the 5th seed? Texans. Texans are the 5 seed, I believe. Yeah, they're the 5 seed. They've appeared in the playoffs 9 times. This is their 9th appearance. 6-8. They have not made a conference title game or a Super Bowl yet. So this is actually the first time the Texans have made the playoffs without being division champions. So that's crazy. They got a road ahead of them to get to Super Bowl 60. Real road ahead of them. The Buffalo Bills, this is their 25th appearance in the playoffs. They're 21-22, 4-3 in conference title games, 0-4 in Super Bowl. As we remember, they went to 4 straight Super Bowls, lost 4 straight Super Bowls. So, and last but not least, the Chargers. This is their 22nd appearance. They are 12-20 in the playoffs, 1-3 in conference title games, 0-1 in Super Bowls, losing to the San Francisco 49ers in the Super Bowl years ago. Years ago. So, let's go to the NFC side of things, starting off with the Seattle Seahawks. This is their 21st appearance in the playoffs. They're 17-19 overall, 3-1 in conference title games, 1-2 in Super Bowls. That year that Russell Wilson went out and just dominated the Broncos in the Super Bowl. Just beat up on them. The Chicago Bears, this is their 28th appearance in the playoffs, 17-20 all time, 2-3 in conference title games, 1-1 in Super Bowls. The Philadelphia Eagles, this is their 32nd appearance in the playoffs, 29-26 overall, 5-4 in conference title games, 2-3 in Super Bowls. And then last but not least, as far as division champions, the Panthers, this is their 9th appearance in the playoffs. They are 9-8, 2-2 in conference title games, 0-2 in Super Bowls. Okay. The Los Angeles Rams, this is their 34th appearance in the playoffs. They are 27-29. They are 5-6 in conference title games, 2-3 in Super Bowls. The 49ers, this is their 31st appearance in the playoffs, 38-24. That's a hell of a record. 38-24. 8-11 in conference title games, 5-3 in Super Bowls. It's nuts. And then the Green Bay Packers. 38th appearance in the playoffs, 37-27, 3-6 in conference title games, 4-1 in the Super Bowl. So that's your playoff statistics. With these teams having playoff appearances, conference title games, and Super Bowls. Okay. Now, of course, I pulled out the statistic of the last time these teams were in the playoffs, right? So let's start off with the AFC. The Denver Broncos, the last time they were in the playoffs, 2024, they lost in the wild card round to the Buffalo Bills. The New England Patriots, the last time they were in the playoffs, 2021, and they lost in the wild card round to the Buffalo Bills. The Jacksonville Jaguars, last time they were in the playoffs was in 2022. They lost in the divisional round to the Kansas City Chiefs. The Pittsburgh Steelers, last time they were in the playoffs was in 2024. They lost in the wild card round to the Baltimore Ravens. The Houston Texans, last time they were in the playoffs was 2024. They lost in the divisional round to the Kansas City Chiefs. The Buffalo Bills, the last time they were in the playoffs was in 2024. They lost in the AFC Championship game to the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Los Angeles Chargers, last time they were in the playoffs, 2024, and they lost in the wild card round to the Houston Texans. Okay. So there's your little bit of history of the last time teams were in the playoffs. So think of this. The Broncos, the Chargers, the Bills, Steelers, and Texans are the 5 returning teams from last year's playoffs, and the Patriots and Jaguars are the 2 newer teams. Because, last year these other teams were in the playoffs, but the Patriots and Jaguars were not in last year. So now they're in. Okay. For the NFC side of things, the Seahawks, they have not been in the playoffs since 2022. They lost in the wild card round to the 49ers. The Bears, they haven't been in the playoffs since 2020. They lost in the wild card round to the Saints. The Eagles, last time they were in the playoffs was in 2024, and they won Super Bowl 59. So the returning Super Bowl champs are back in the playoffs. Okay. And the Panthers, Carolina Panthers, last time they were in the playoffs was in 2017, and they lost in the wild card round to the Saints. The Los Angeles Rams, last time they were in the playoffs, 2024, they lost in the divisional round to the Philadelphia Eagles. The San Francisco 49ers, last time they were in the playoffs was in 2023, or last time they were in the playoffs was in 2023, and they lost in Super Bowl 58. So they were in Super Bowl 58 against the Chiefs, lost, and then last year didn't make the playoffs. Now they're back in. So, and then the Green Bay Packers, the last time they were in the playoffs, 2024, and they lost in the wild card round to the Philadelphia Eagles. So those are your playoff teams' last appearances, which is crazy. So the team that has been in it, so the most current teams, actually, teams that were in the playoffs last year in the NFC, Eagles, Rams, Packers. That's it. Okay. The Seahawks, Bears, 49ers, and Panthers replaced 5 other teams. That's crazy. So the NFC playoffs are basically brand new, with the Eagles and the Rams returning from last year. It's crazy. And then you go to the AFC side of things, and 5 teams are returning out of the 7. So it's almost like a flip-flop. NFC, 2 returning, 5 being replaced. AFC, 5 returning, 2 being replaced. That's nuts. Crazy how that works, huh? Crazy. But that's our statistic for last time teams were in the postseason, which is, like I said, fun little statistic for you guys. The last time teams were in the playoffs, which is a fun little statistic to pull together, So I didn't expect today's show to be very long. I didn't. And we were supposed to go live at 11 o'clock. We went live at 10:45. I decided, you know what? Might as well, right? Might as well just go live. Why sit around on the computer for 15 minutes and wait? There's not much to talk about. I could probably get done a little early and just, chill out and get ready for Wildcard Weekend to kick off. It is a rainy day today here in Pennsylvania. It's rough, rainy day. But don't let it gloom out. Don't let it gloom you out too much. You can't. So dogs are kind of just chilling out, waiting for me to get done. We're going to chill out today and probably play some video games, But anyways, didn't expect today's stream to be very long. Now, me and Cam will be back tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to get you guys ready for the rest of Wildcard Weekend. But I'm going to talk about the first 2 games here today. With that being said, let's get into what is going to happen on Super Wildcard Weekend Saturday. Okay, let's get into it. All right. In the first game on Super Wildcard Weekend, we got the Los Angeles Rams heading out to Carolina to take... Oh, my gosh, I'm going to start that over. Jeez, man. I kind of I scared myself a little bit when I tried to say Carolina, right? So we're going to start that over. In the first game to kick off Super Wildcard Weekend, we got the Los Angeles Rams heading out to Carolina to take on the NFC South champion Carolina Panthers. The Panthers, there's some questions about them being in the playoffs. A losing team with a losing record hosting a home playoff game. These questions are always up in the air. Meanwhile, the Rams, they're returning to the playoffs looking for vengeance. Last year's playoff games against Philadelphia, some people are saying that the Rams probably should have won that game. Well, that was last year, and this is just this year. The Rams are back in the playoffs. The Carolina Panthers are in the playoffs. Oh, my gosh. Wow. I can't talk today. And again, as I always explain to you guys who are watching live, when you're trying to record content for social media, you want to try and make it a little perfect, right? You want to make it a little perfect. I'm still going to talk about these games. I am. We're going to talk about these games, but I got to do an introductory for the social media. So you guys got to kind of bear with me for a second. Okay. In the first game of Super Wildcard Weekend, we got the Los Angeles Rams heading out to Carolina to take on the NFC South Division champion Carolina Panthers. The Los Angeles Rams, they're returning to the playoffs with a vengeance. Last year, getting eliminated by the Philadelphia Eagles, only for the Eagles to hit the road on their way to Super Bowl 59 and raising the Lombardi Trophy. Some people are saying the Rams probably should have won that game. That was last year. This is this year. The Panthers, yeah, they're 8-9 going into the playoffs. Who cares? The playoffs are a whole new season, and we're about to get started. Let's find out who wins this one. I love that. Love that. Got to timestamp that. So we're gonna talk about these games real quick. I just want to do my introductory, and then we'll talk about these games. So in the second game of Super Wildcard Weekend Saturday, we got the Green Bay Packers heading out to Chicago to take on the NFC North Division champion Chicago Bears. The Packers, they're returning to the playoffs for not one, not two, but a third season in a row being the 7th seed in the playoffs. Meanwhile, the Bears, they're making their return to the playoffs since 2020, and they're the division champions. Can the Bears go out and defend their home field and win this game against the Packers, or will the division rival Packers come in and beat them and move on to the divisional round? Let's find out in tonight's game in Wildcard Weekend. I don't like that. I liked most of it until I got to the end. Let me do it one more time. One more take. Take two. We got the Green Bay Packers heading... Oh, man. In our second game of Super Wildcard Weekend Saturday, we got the Green Bay Packers heading out to Chicago to take on the NFC North Division champion Chicago Bears. These two teams, they know each other very, very well. But the Packers, they've been here before. Not one, not two, but now their third year in a row being the 7th seed in the playoffs. The Bears, they haven't been in the playoffs since 2020. These two NFC North Division rivals, they're going to battle tonight. Let's find out who wins it. I like that one. I like that one. That's better. And I don't script this stuff either. I think of this stuff on the fly. So, all right. So now that I have my cuts, let's talk about these games. Number one, the Rams. Okay. Like I said, the Rams, they're back in the playoffs. Now, a lot of people are saying last year they should have won that game against Philadelphia. They didn't. Okay. They didn't win. Simple as that. Let it go. Move on. Bottom line. And I'm not just saying that because I have an Eagles flag, flying in front of me here or in back of me. Okay. As you guys know, if you've followed this show since the beginning of time, I'm a very, impartial person on this show. Yes, I'm an Eagles fan. I root for the Eagles. I'm going to root the Birds on as much as I can. But on this show, I'm going to be fair to the fans of every team in the NFL. Should the Rams have probably won that game last year? Probably. But they didn't. Let it go. It's 2026. It's the playoffs now. It's not last year. Eagles raise the Lombardi. You can't change it. Let it go. Okay? The Rams have an opportunity to start their road to the Lombardi Trophy and to Super Bowl 60 now against the Carolina Panthers. Now, I'm going to say this right now. I have a feeling that the Panthers, they haven't been in the playoffs since 2017. Okay? Yeah, they're 8-9. But I think they're surprising a lot of people. A lot of people, and I think a lot of people are sleeping on this Panthers team. I think I'm the only person probably in the world that believes the Panthers can go out and beat the Rams tonight. I think I am. And I may be naive for thinking that. I may be crazy for thinking that. But part of me feels like this Panthers team, even at 8-9, can go out and beat this Rams team. They did it before. They did it earlier this year. And you got to think of that. They did. They went out and they beat the Rams earlier this year. And if I'm not mistaken, it was in Los Angeles, I believe. I got to look. I'm going to look. Let's see when the Panthers played the Rams this year. This is a statistic I should have had together before I started the show today, but I don't think about talking about schedules that happen. Yeah. Oh no, it was in Carolina. 31-28 was the final. Okay, so it's in Carolina again. So Carolina has home field advantage. Okay. So is it that hard to believe that the Panthers might go out and beat the Rams tonight? Is it? I don't think it's that hard to believe. But a lot of people think I'm crazy for it. And did I pick the Panthers in me and John's pick challenge? Yeah, I did. You sure betting I did. Now, is there a huge chance the Rams go out and, beat up on them and kick them to the curb early? There is. I don't think it's going to be that type of game. I don't think we're going to get a game like we got last night in the Indiana-Oregon game. I don't. I think it's going to be a much more competitive game. I think the Panthers are going to give a fight, just like they did last week against Tampa Bay. I think, a lot of people are saying to me, oh, you're sleeping on the Rams. I think you're sleeping on the Panthers. I think you're sleeping on the Panthers. And we've never seen Bryce Young in the playoffs before. So we don't know what type of quarterback he can be in the playoffs. Because we've seen players be different in postseason play than they were in the regular season. We have. We've seen it. I don't know if it's the win or go home mentality or what. But if I was the Rams, I'd be a little scared. I'd be like, man, yeah, Bryce has never been in the playoffs before. So this is kind of different for him. And I wouldn't think of it in a bad way either. This might be a good thing for Bryce Young to be under this type of pressure. It might be. So Rams fans, watch out. Because you may be sitting home next week in the divisional round. I wouldn't look past Carolina tonight. Not one bit. Packers head out to Chicago to take on the Bears. NFC North matchup. Third time these two teams are meeting this year. The Packers, their third time being the 7th seed in the playoffs. Okay. Third time. So the Packers put out a statement that they are going to talk to Matt LaFleur at the end of the season, when they're done in the postseason, about his extension. Now, if I was Green Bay, I would really start thinking about whether he should be the head coach moving forward. I mean, how do you get a 7 seed 3 years in a row? How? And you've gotten lucky the first time when you played Dallas. But last year against Philly, you didn't get so lucky. And Chicago, this year has been a pretty special year for Chicago. Pretty special year. And you know dang well they're going to go into that game tonight trying to ride that wave of things being special. Now, I did my full-on playoff predictions today when I woke up, okay? Because obviously the ESPN app, they do the bracket challenge. And, yeah, you have to do a full prediction thing, full-on prediction thing, right? So I did. And I have my Super Bowl matchup. I do. I'm not going to say what it is. I'm not going to tell you guys the bracket challenge. I'll let you guys know the final product of the bracket challenge when it's done. But I did my full-on thing today, right? And I don't have Chicago making it past the divisional round. I don't. I'll just say that. So it's been a special year in Chicago, but I don't know if I would expect to make it far. Just like the Packers. You might not make it past tonight. And if you do, awesome. Now, I picked the Packers for tonight. I think they can go out and upset Chicago. I did. I picked Green Bay tonight in our pick challenge. I think they can go out and upset Chicago tonight. But I think that's the furthest Green Bay gets. Divisional round. That's it. As of right now, I have to see how they play in the playoffs to really determine whether they'd be able to go out and beat Seattle next week. But as of right now, I think that this would be it. So, we'll have to see. But that's all I got for you guys today. That's it. 45 minutes, guys. That's it. Saturday, easy show. Me and Cam will be back tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to get you guys ready for Super Wildcard Sunday and Monday night. We'll be talking about those games. Yeah. So, and if any news comes out, we'll be talking about that as well. Okay. Make sure one more time, you're going to go over and follow the Huddle Hub podcast over on social media on X and TikTok at the Huddle Hub Pod, on YouTube at the Huddle Hub Pod, and of course on Twitch at the Huddle Hub Pod. On YouTube, you're going to hit the subscribe button. That's how you follow on YouTube. Help us build the Huddle Hub podcast through the NFL playoffs and beyond. You're going to follow me on social media over on MetalMike714, Instagram, X, TikTok, and Snapchat. Be definitely appreciated. Me and Cam will be back tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, with the Sunday edition of the Huddle Hub Podcast. Get you guys ready for the rest of Super Wildcard Weekend. Until then, guys, be good to each other, be kind to each other, take care of each other, be patient with each other. Remember, the world is not moving as fast as you think. Good luck to your teams tonight if you're a Bears, Packers, Panthers, or Rams fan. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Deuces.